Okay, I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Yashim, Yahweh Shah, um, Salakia. Let me start that over. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Yashim, Yahweh Shah, YAHAWAH, Das Barakatah. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, the Akim around the four corners, pushing the truth with faith and sincerity. I was doing a lesson. It's like the ultimate calling of Yahweh is a series about the different prophets. I'm not getting a chance to watch news like that, current events. So and I came across, like I said, Esau probably created this. I'm pretty sure Esau did, but it's a decent little, it's like a teaching lesson like book for, I believe like ministers, pastors, or whatnot. And it goes off on certain things, but it's a good teaching too. Like I said, I started with the book of Judges with Deborah and Barak, and now I moved to the series with Gideon. And when I first started the lesson on Gideon, I tried to upload it for whatever reason. Like the video, one of the videos around 14 minutes long, because the first video it was like 6 minutes, and it cut off my phone, So I tried to upload it for whatever reason, it wouldn't upload. So I'm thinking about, like I said, starting back at exactly where I started at. So let's get started. Like I said, I'm reading out the Bible Expositor. And, I'm gonna do a quick recap from the first series, and then, like I said, I don't know exactly where I stopped at, but I'm gonna start off at Gideon was perplexed and perhaps a little cynical at this discrepancy. He reasoned that if Israel was the Lord's people, or if Israel was Yahweh's people, he also continued to bless them, but he was only partially correct. It was true, the Lord only but it was only partially correct. It was true that Yahweh had delivered Israel over to Midian, but he had not abandoned them. They had abandoned him. In fact, Yahweh's disciplinary judgment proved that he still cared for them. Salakia. And basically in Scripture, it brings to mind a precept about the chastisement of the Lord. I believe that's in Hebrews. Let me try and find that. Because, like I said, it says in Scripture that don't despise chastisement, because chastisement is like Yahweh is dealing with you as he deals with sons. Let's see. Chastisement. Let's try Hebrews 12. Okay. Because there's a lot of good meat in here. I'm gonna read the book of Hebrews, chapter 12. I'm gonna start at verse 1, and I'm gonna read probably down to verse 11. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. So this is a race, especially being in this truth. This truth, it ain't about, it's not a sprint, because like I said, like in the book of Matthew 24, it says, he who endures to the end, the same shall be saved. So, like I said, you gotta, like I said, lay aside, the cares of this world, the obstacles and the afflictions, and you gotta stay in this truth. And brothers that's sincerely in this thing understand that. Looking unto Yahweh Shah, the author and finisher of our faith, because Yahweh Shah was the only one to actually live a sinless life, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, as is set down at the right hand of the throne of Yahweh. For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint in your minds. So you got to take on all this, because you can't give up, especially if you give up in your mind first. I mean, something got to be thought in your mind before, your body can react to it. Verse 4, ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin. So at the end of the day, like, we ain't even really seen persecution or affliction. You got to remember, like, when you read the old accounts, I mean, look at Jeremiah, what Jeremiah went through. Look at what Isaiah went through. Isaiah had to, prophesy and preach, naked for like 3 years or something, remember? Verse 5, and ye have forgotten that exoneration which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For whom the Lord, or Yahawah, loveth, he chastiseth and scourgeth every son whom he received. If ye endure chastising, Yahawah dealeth with you as with sons, for what son is he whom the Father chastiseth not? And that gets to the point. That's what I was trying to really just get. Back to the positive. The role of Israel's sin and all this empowerment, and all this somehow escaped Gideon. He had been brought up in an atmosphere of spiritual compromise, which we in the book of Judges. It's going to be chapter 6, verse 45. And it came to pass the same night that the Lord said unto him, take thy father's young bullock, even the second bullock of 7 years old, and throw down the altar of Baal, that thy father hath cut down the grove that is by it. And had not cultivated a sensitivity to the Lord's holiness and revealed will. He was probably ignorant of the warnings Yahawah had given through Moses, which you can read in Leviticus 26, verses 14 39, and Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 15 and 48. Gideon was no different from other sinful human beings. It is natural to ignore God in times of prosperity and attribute success to our own efforts. But when hardship comes, how easy is it to blame Yahawah for them? In times of adversity, our first inclination ought to be to question ourselves, not Yahawah. And which is true, because we usually fail. Like, some people don't know how to listen for the Lord or watch for the Lord. Hardship is not always the result of sin, but self-examination in the light of Yahawah's word is always a good place to begin. The Lord's commission, Judges 6 and 14. When the words the Lord looked upon him, with the words the Lord looked upon him, the writer of Judges affirmed that the angel of the Lord was, now like I said, I don't agree with that. He looked Gideon in the eye as he gave an answer. Yet he did not answer Gideon's question of why he had withdrawn his power from Israel. Instead, he challenged Gideon to do something about the situation. Too often we spend our time whining to Yahawah about our evil surroundings, feeling victimized by them. But when we ask him why he does not change them, we may be overlooking the obvious, that Yahawah wants us to be part of his solution to the problem. Are you willing to make yourselves, or are we willing to make ourselves available for his use? And I believe the sincere brothers in the truth, at the end of the day, going to make themselves available. At the end of the day, when you really recognize that you don't really have free will like that. I mean, the book of Jonah proves that. But I was thinking back about, like I said, what the angel or the messenger is, and then how the scripture says, I forget what book it's in, as far as how the angels love to do the bidding of the Most High God. And then when you recognize how, like a lot of the Akim have been saying, when you're doing this, if you're not loving doing what you're doing, you're going to end up giving up or going back into the world. And, it just made me think, when you recognize that, angel simply means messenger, and we have a message, so we're all somewhat angels on this side. You get what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I think he's trying to transform us. This is my opinion, but I think he's trying to transform us so we can be actually the angels in Scripture, really willing and ready to do his bidding. The Lord commanded, go in thy might, and thou shalt save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have not I sent thee? This thy might refers to the strength Yahawah was now giving Gideon, not in that strength of his own. In essence, Yahawah is saying, you wonder where my miracles are? Well, I'm still working miracles, and you will see them through the power I'm making available to you. Yahawah's power would enable Gideon to save Israel from the Midianites. The reminder that it was Yahawah who was sending him provided Gideon the assurance that Yahawah's presence was with him in this undertaking. It is worth noting that the Lord did not take the time to answer all of Gideon's theological questions. He did not even completely identify himself. He merely commanded Gideon, promised him strength, and asked for his trust. And they, have examples in John, or they believe in scriptures, which is John verse 16. John chapter 16 verse 33, and 1 John 5 verses 4 through 5.